Hey there, health enthusiasts! Today, we're diving into a topic that's both shocking and eye-opening. 13 foods that can increase your risk of cancer. Now, before you raid your pantry and hurl everything into the sun, remember, moderation is key. This isn't about living in a state of perpetual fear, it's about making informed choices. Think of it this way. You wouldn't chug a bottle of engine oil and expect to win any marathons, right? Your body is a finely tuned machine. Well, most of the time. And what you put into it matters. We're talking about those seemingly innocent snacks and staples that could be quietly raising your cancer risk. Over the next few chapters, we'll be separating the good from the bad, the delicious from the downright dangerous. We'll unpack the science, the studies, and yes, even throw in a few jokes along the way. Because if you can't laugh at the absurdity of existence, then frankly, what's the point? So, buckle up, grab a safe snack, and get ready to learn about the foods you might want to think twice about. Let's be honest, you're already watching a YouTube video about cancer-causing foods. You clearly have some time to kill. Let's kick things off with a real crowd pleaser, processed meats. I'm talking about the unholy trinity of bacon, sausages, and hot dogs. The kind of meat that's been smoked, cured, salted, and generally messed with. The World Health Organization has classified processed meats as a Group 1 carcinogen. That's right, in the same category as cigarettes and asbestos. Processed meats are basically the junk food of the fuel world. Enjoy them in moderation. Your body will thank you for it in the long run, probably. Okay, meat lovers, we need to have a chat. Specifically, about red meat. Now, I'm not here to tell you that a juicy steak is the devil incarnate. But, and this is a big but, consuming large quantities of red meat, particularly processed red meat, has been linked to an increased risk of certain cancers. We're talking about the big guns here. Colorectal cancer, pancreatic cancer, even prostate cancer. Look, I get it. A world without the occasional burger or steak seems bleak. But consider this. Eating red meat every day is like playing Russian roulette with your health. Sure, you'll be fine, or you might end up with a bullet, metaphorically speaking, in your digestive tract. Now, I'm not saying you need to become a vegetarian overnight. Just be mindful of your intake. Swap out some of that red meat for healthier protein sources like fish, beans, lentils, or even tofu if you're feeling adventurous. Variety is the spice of life, as they say, and a varied diet is a healthier one. Remember, moderation is key. Think of red meat as that friend you love, but can only tolerate in small doses. You know the one, tells long, rambling stories and always forgets their wallet. Enjoy it occasionally, but don't make it a regular fixture in your life. Alright, let's talk about alcohol. That magical elixir that can make a Tuesday night feel like a Friday night. But even I have to admit, alcohol and cancer have a bit of a Bonnie and Clyde thing going on. Now you might be thinking, but what about that study that said red wine is good for you? First of all, that study was probably funded by Big Cabernet. Drinking alcohol in excess is like pouring gasoline on a smoldering barbecue. We're talking about an increased risk of various cancers. It doesn't mean you have to swear off tequila sunsets forever, but maybe consider swapping out that nightly nightcap for chamomile tea. Your body will thank you for it. Now, let's move on to something that might seem harmless on the surface, but is actually sneakier than a politician during an election year: sugary drinks. I'm talking about your sodas, your sweetened juices, your fancy coffee concoctions that somehow manage to cram an entire day's worth of sugar into a single cup. These sugary beverages are like wolves in sheep's clothing. They look all innocent and refreshing, but lurking beneath the surface is a cocktail of ingredients just waiting to wreak havoc on your system. And by wreak havoc, I mean increase your risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, And yes, you guessed it, cancer. Now, I know what you're thinking. But John, I only drink diet soda. Those artificial sweeteners are basically calorie-free magic. And to that I say, hold your horses, Sparky. We'll get to the dangers of those chemical concoctions soon enough. Spoiler alert, they're not great either. The point is, these sugary drinks are essentially liquid candy bars disguised with colorful packaging and catchy slogans. They provide zero nutritional value and contribute to a whole host of health problems, including an increased risk of certain types of cancer. So next time you're reaching for that sugary siren, maybe opt for a nice, refreshing glass of water instead. It's boring, I know, but so is chemo. Okay folks, buckle up because we're about to delve into a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and stomach fried food. That golden, crispy, artery-clogging goodness that we all know and love. Look, I'm not here to tell you that you can never enjoy a plate of French fries or a fried chicken sandwich ever again. Where's the fun in that? However, indulging in fried foods regularly is like walking a tightrope without a safety net. One wrong step, and you're plummeting into a world of potential health problems. Frying at high temperatures creates compounds linked to cancer. So, enjoy fried foods sparingly and focus on whole, unprocessed foods. Your body will thank you in the long run. Right, let's talk about microwave popcorn, that beacon of hope in a bleak, snackless world. Except, maybe it's not the hero we deserve. You see, that buttery, salty goodness often comes with a side of chemicals you wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley. We're talking about things like perfluorooctanoic acid, or PFOA, for those who like their chemicals pronounceable. It's used in the lining of those bags to stop the greasy goodness from seeping through. Problem is, PFOA has been linked to some cancers. It's like finding out your comfy armchair is stuffed with angry badgers. Not ideal. And look, I get it. The convenience is tempting. You shove it in the microwave, listen for the pops to subside, and boom, instant movie snack. But maybe, just maybe, it's time to consider air-popped alternatives. Or, embracing the quiet dignity of not constantly shoveling snacks into your face. A radical concept, I know. Canned foods. They're the culinary equivalent of that friend who's always prepared, reliable, convenient, and always there for you in a pinch. But much like that friend who shows up unannounced at 3 a.m. demanding to play charades, canned foods come with their own brand of baggage. See, many cans are lined with a chemical called bisphenol A, or BPA, to prevent corrosion and spoilage. Sounds helpful, right? Well, here's the twist. BPA has a nasty habit of leaching into food, and studies have linked it to everything from heart disease to, you guessed it, cancer. It's like playing Russian roulette with a can of diced tomatoes. Now, before you swear off canned goods entirely and retreat to a life of foraging for berries in the wilderness, there are alternatives. Look for cans labeled BPA-free, or embrace frozen or fresh options. It might require a smidgen of extra effort, but hey, isn't your health worth a little more than the convenience of pop-top lids? Fish. The healthy protein source we're constantly told to eat. Full of omega-3s, good for the brain, blah blah blah. But here's the catch of the day. Not all fish are created equal. Specifically, we need to talk about farmed fish. And trust me, it's not a pretty picture. Imagine this. Thousands of fish crammed into cramped, crowded pens, swimming in their own filth. Sounds delightful, right? To make matters worse, these poor creatures are often pumped full of antibiotics and fed an unnatural diet of grains and fish meal, which can lead to a buildup of toxins in their flesh. And guess who ends up consuming those toxins? That's right, you. So, that healthy salmon you're enjoying might not be the health food you thought it was. Look, I'm not saying you need to swear off seafood entirely and invest in a scuba suit. Just be mindful of where your fish comes from. Opt for wild-caught options whenever possible. and check for certifications from reputable organizations. Your body will thank you for it. Right, buckle up, buttercups, because we're about to delve into the insidious world of refined sugar. Now, we're not talking about the natural sugars found in fruits and whatnot. No, we're talking about the processed, bleached, and frankly, quite suspicious white stuff that seems to be lurking in everything. Think of refined sugar like a silent assassin, slowly chipping away at your health. See, cancer cells, those little buggers, just love to gobble up sugar. It's like giving them an all-you-can-eat buffet, except the buffet is your body. And trust me, you don't want to be the main course in that nightmare scenario. So, what can you do? Well, for starters, read your food labels like a hawk on a caffeine bender. That's right. Those sneaky food corporations love to hide sugar under a million different names. But don't worry. We'll be diving into that whole deceptive labeling debacle in a later episode. Stay tuned for that delightful exposé. So, you're trying to cut back on sugar. Good for you. You reach for that brightly colored packet of artificial sweetener, thinking you've outsmarted the system. Well, hold your horses, because artificial sweeteners are a bit like a double-edged sword. On the one hand, they don't directly feed cancer cells like refined sugar does. That's the good news. On the other hand, some studies suggest that these chemical concoctions might mess with your gut bacteria, which, in a roundabout way, could increase your risk of certain cancers. It's enough to make you want to swear off sweetness altogether, isn't it? But before you go full-on hermit and start foraging for berries in the wilderness, let's be reasonable. The research on artificial sweeteners is still a bit murky. Some studies say they're fine, others raise concerns. So, until we have more definitive answers, moderation is key. All right, folks, let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, pesticides. Now, I know what you're thinking. John, pesticides are for protecting our crops, not for starring in a horror film about cancer. But hear me out, because this is where things get a bit sticky. Non-organic produce is often treated with a cocktail of pesticides, herbicides, and other chemicals designed to keep those pesky bugs and weeds at bay. And while the levels of these chemicals are supposedly within safe limits, some studies suggest that long-term exposure might be linked to an increased risk of cancer. It's like a Trojan horse for your body. It looks appealing on the outside, but inside, it's hiding a potential threat. Now, I'm not saying you need to raid your local farmer's market and start living off the land like a modern-day Thoreau, but it's worth considering where your food comes from and making informed choices. Opt for organic options when you can, especially for fruits and veggies that are notorious pesticide magnets. All right, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're diving into the world of hydrogenated oils. These sneaky devils often disguise themselves under the seemingly innocuous name of trans fat. Trans fat is about as welcome in your body as a pack of rabid weasels at a picnic. These frankenfats are created when food manufacturers take perfectly healthy oils and pump them full of hydrogen. Trans fats significantly increase your risk of heart disease, stroke, and even cancer. We're talking about foods like margarine, processed snacks, and those pastries that stare at you seductively from the bakery window. Read those food labels like your life depends on it, because frankly, it kind of does. Ah, the smell of grilling. Is there anything more summery than burgers and hot dogs sizzling over an open flame? But before you grab your tongs, let's talk about what happens when meat turns charcoal black. Spoiler alert, it's not great. Cooking meat at high temperatures creates compounds called HCAs and PAHs. They sound like rejected transformers, but they're linked to cancer risks. These compounds increase the risk of colorectal, pancreatic, and stomach cancer. To minimize risk, marinate your meat, cook over lower heat, and use a meat thermometer. And there you have it, folks. 13 foods that could be putting your health at risk. Now, I'm not saying you have to live in a hermetically sealed bubble and subsist solely on kale smoothies and purified water. Where's the fun in that? But knowledge is power, and by being aware of the potential risks associated with certain foods, you can make more informed choices about what you put into your body. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more eye-opening content. Stay healthy, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.